Okay, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Our webinar is about Clientmate, and this particularly on the tax side of things. And when I advertised it, I wanted to just show you updates and some new features. But I had such a good response, and from so many people who aren't actually running the program, that I think it would be best if I did a little bit of an overview first. So I'm going to run through an overview of how Clientmate works, and then we'll deal with the new features, and then we'll have a questions and answers session at the end. You can ask questions as we go along. You just type your questions in the question box, and they will come up on a screen next to me, and I'll answer those. Okay, I'm just switching to my screen. And for those of you who know Clientmate, you'll be very familiar with this opening screen. Of course, the program hasn't always looked like this. I was just contemplating earlier that this program has been in development for about 12 years now. And we initially responded to the need for FICA and keeping of client information for FICA. And that's how it started. Of course, things have changed considerably along the way, and now we're looking at POPI and this various data protection legislation, and we want to be right on top of that when things get enacted and accountants need to respond to that. Obviously, our target, me being an accountant, our target has always been accountants, and I've always been trying to look after the small guys in particular. So I just look at the list of names here, and most of you are sole practitioners, and obviously struggling with a lot of issues. And one of those things where I think Clientmate can help you is really keeping all the data together, keeping it all in one place and having it accessible by everyone in your office. This program, Clientmate, essentially runs on a server or a shared computer. It doesn't have to be a full-blooded server, but any machine that's shared through a network, be it a wireless network or cabled network. Some people are running the program on a cloud server and then accessing it by remote desktop or other sharing mechanisms. So there are a lot of different ways that you can use this, but essentially the basis is to have all the data in one place and multiple people being able to see it, access it, and modify it all at the same time. Okay, I still see people rolling in. I'm sure they'll be doing so throughout the entire webinar. Everyone is muted, even if you have a microphone. And if you want to speak, if you want to actually say something, you're welcome to just get my attention by typing in the question box that you'd like to ask a question, and I can open up your mic and you can talk, or just ask. If you just want to type a question in, that's fine. I'll respond as we're going along, or at the end. All right, as I said, we have a client database, and this screen opens up, and on the left-hand side we have a list of clients. Okay, I'm just putting a bit of demo information in here, but there's no limit really to the number of clients on there. I'm sure that it will cater for all your firms. On our own client database, we have over 5,000 client names on the left-hand side, and it's just as quick as if there were only 200 names. There really is no limitation. The type of information that we keep on a client, let's open up this one here. But there are numerous fields which cover hopefully all the data that you're going to need. plus some extra things that you won't need. For example, this file reference. This is something that originated early on in the development cycle in our own office, because every client had a box file in the filing cabinet, and that had a reference number, so we used to put the reference number in there so that we could easily find these things. So you might use it or you might not use it. The client code, that can be any client code you want, or if you're using Pastel accounting and you're using our time product, then that client code becomes the client code in Pastel accounting and post transactions up and down to that account. Okay, the name of the client, if it's a company, the full name would go in there. If it's individuals, first names, initials, title would all go in here. Okay, other various items of data that one might want to keep or not, gender, marital status, language. Okay, just on that note, while the program is in English, the system generates letters for your tax returns, for your tax assessments, provisional taxes, etc. And those letters would normally be the English letters, but you can add letters of any language. And then when the system wants to send that letter, it will look and see, well, what language are we dealing with here? And then it would send the appropriate letter. So it is a language, it can respond to the language choices of your clients. Okay, we keep obviously the ID numbers, registration numbers, and these little tick boxes. These are the things that originated in the FICA day, where we verified the IDs and that type of thing. Okay, on the next page, we'll have tax numbers, all the various tax numbers. Okay, today I'm going to just show you how we keep track of the income tax, and we've just added VAT for keeping track of VAT returns. In the not too distant future, we're going to have the PAYE returns kicking in, and a few other things that we're looking at generating is the power of attorney letters for SARS, keeping track of those sort of things as well. But what we like to do is to respond to what our users want. That's why the VAT tracking has been added, because users asked us to do it. So that's why it's there now. Okay, there's the system is built on the premise that there will be a partner in the firm and that there'll be staff members. And each client can be allocated to a partner, to a staff member. The reason or the way that is used is if we're getting a list of, say, provisional tax returns, we can filter that out by partner or by staff member. In fact, any reports can be filtered on those two things and a multitude of other things as well. All right. We can just tick on here whether we have the power of attorney or not. And then this little box for latest confirmation is really useful, that when you meet with a client, you can call up the information and check that the information is correct. And if you're happy with it, sorry, that's my email program, then you just click on confirm today and it will put in the date. Okay, termination date is when the person ceases to be a client. Now, if there's a termination date, let's put in a date when it was terminated. What you'll see is that the client becomes grayed out in the list. Okay, now we don't lose the data, because it might very well be important that we have that data and that we have all the tax return information, but we just gray it out as a terminated client. If we don't want to see them in the list, we can just right-click on the list, click on hard terminated, and they won't be there. Bring them back to view, just untick that, they'll be back in, and you can always, what we call, revive a client. So then you would just right-click and choose revive, and click on OK, and that will clear the termination date, and they'll be back in the list. all the data still intact. Similarly, if, for example, you have a client that is the company and there are various shareholders, you'll notice that on this company, if we look down in this block here, we show who the shareholders are. Now, each one of these shareholders has to be a client in this list, but they might not be your client. So what you do is you add them to the list, terminate them, and then you'll be able to still access them as members or partners in the list here. All right, in the data, let's just go back to the data again. Other pages, we have in their addresses, you can say what area they are resident in, and again, you can filter on these areas if you want them. These are just data fields that you can use if you want to use them. We have a notes field, so anything that's not covered in the normal course of things, like there might be some registration number particular to this client, it might be something, a foreign registration number or something like that. You can just add client notes in here as you see fit. Okay, depending on the types of entity that we're dealing with, there are links to managers, directors, etc. And I can just add a director in here. Say I'll look up. There's a person, and you say, okay, they are a director of this company. Save it, and then they're in as a director. Okay, one of the beauties of that is that you can do a reverse lookup, in that you can look up with this managers button and see, well, for this person, okay, the one that you highlighted, which companies are they managers or directors on? Okay, so that's a really neat little feature if you choose to use it. Okay, and you can print out that list. When you see a button here, send to, a send to button allows you to do a multitude of things. You can send it to the printer. You can send things to file, either to PDF, Excel, or Word. Okay, so any send to you can get it into various formats. Okay, so back to the data. Telephone numbers. Okay, just add a telephone number here. Here's the work number and the name of the person. You can add multiple numbers, obviously. And let's add in a cell phone number, because you can use the SMS facility. Okay, so out of this system, you can SMS a client directly. Okay, now you have to buy some SMS credits from us. They're not expensive. I think they're 40 cents each. And then you can send SMSs directly from the system. Obviously, the big way that we communicate with clients now is by email. Originally, when the program was first developed, we were still printing out letters. Then as things evolved, we started printing those letters to PDF and attaching them to emails. So the system deals with both cases for us. And actually, it's quite useful to be able to send a PDF letter, because while the PDF is not a completely secure document, it can be changed. It's certainly for the majority of end users, they don't change it. Whereas an email is not nearly as secure. As things go forward with the POPI legislation, we will put in an option to secure those PDF documents. We can do that. It's very easy with the technology that we're using, but those documents can be made secure so that they can't be changed, or that it's certainly a lot harder to change them. Okay, and there we had the tax tab. We've got the tax number. We would say which office SARS has got them down as, etc. You can just, we deal with Namibian companies as well. Okay, we do have a feature under the tax tab to look for missing tax numbers. Okay, so if there are any missing tax numbers on the clients, we can get a printout of those and we can go and fix it up and find those tax numbers. Okay, so we see our company needs a tax number. Let's go to our company, open it up, go to the tax tab, and let's fill in the income tax number and the details. All right. If we go to the VAT tab, we also have a missing VAT numbers. Okay, so we can look at that list and see, right, who's missing a VAT number or who's missing a VAT return category. So those are useful things. I think on the CRPC list, we also have a thing there for missing dates. So that's missing incorporation dates for PDYs. Oops. Okay, obviously you need to be able to know what date is missing before, I want a list of all the VAT returns due, but I don't have their VAT numbers in, that might not be on the list. Well, in this case, they would be on the list if they're just marked as a VAT client. Okay, every client, you'll see if I hover over these little buttons or these icons, it says it's a tax client, that one's a VAT client, that's a CRPC client. So at a glance, you can see what they are. And we also have the option for a time client. All right, so 4 different categories there. The other little buttons, the one with the red flag in it, is every client can be flagged. Now there are a number of flags. There are 4 actually. Okay, there's a red, blue, green, and a yellow flag. And they can mean anything that you want them to mean. Okay, so in this case, I just chose to make the red flag the VIP. Some people do it to flag a client who's like a bad payer, so that if you have any dealings or correspondence with them, you know that there's a problem with their account and you need to act accordingly. But those flags can be used for anything. Okay. In addition, we have various mailing lists. So when I'm looking at this particular client, you'll see we've got these mailing lists down the side here. Now those mailing lists also can be anything that you want them to be. But generally the first one we would have is the primary mailing list. So that in a like husband-wife company trust situation, if you're going to send out an office newsletter through the system, you don't want to send it 4 times to the same people who are going to be reading it. So you would just include one of those people on the primary mailing list and then use that for that type of correspondence. As you can see here, I've got a tick for a golf. So if your company has an annual golf day, you might want to highlight all those people who you would invite to that sort of thing. Maybe they've got investments with you. Whatever, they can be used for anything. And again, all the reports can be filtered based on these things. So if I go here and I want to look at a list of clients, I can get all of them. I can get all those on the primary mailing list, the golf mailing list, etc. So those are the 4 mailing lists. Okay, then we have 2 options at the bottom for new clients. So that would be any clients. If I choose that option, it's going to ask me from what date to what date. So clients that were added new into the system. Okay, that's a really useful thing to have there. We have a list of terminated clients. Okay, then we have a list here of filtered. Now, when you talk about filtered, this is where all these things come into play. So we could have a list of people on the first mailing list only for a selected partner and a selected staff member of a certain type. You get the idea. All right, and that filter is being built at the bottom here. And that's the list that we would get out at the end of the day. Okay, so the very powerful feature. And that's used for either getting a list of clients or for sending letters to those clients. Okay, so it's a very useful communication system. Now, at this point, we don't have emails received in the system, but that is going to come. At this point, it's the system generates emails and sends them out. And it can send them out either directly through your Outlook account, or it can send them out through its own internal email system. You can choose. Most people have it going through their Outlook account. Then you've got a copy of it in the system and a copy of it in your Outlook sent items, and however you might file those things. Okay, every client that is added on the left-hand side also has a folder within the Windows operating system. And if you click on this little button, it will open up the folder for that particular client. Okay, every client that's added then gets folders. And inside those folders, we can have the system create subfolders. The way that we do that is we look under company here, client folders. And what I've done is I've set up a whole lot of folders to be automatically created. Now you see, when I clicked on that client just now, you could see there was, sorry, let's just adjust the size of the window. Okay, you'll see there's the AFS folder, and there's a VAT returns folder. All right. Then these were subfolders. So if we look inside there, they are the subfolders. Okay, so we can automatically create folders and subfolders. So you can get a file structure for all the clients that matches your requirements and how you want to file things. So if, for example, on the VAT return side, if you wanted to save a copy of all the VAT returns that you submitted to SARS. So when you do the submission, you print the return, then that's where you would save it. Or you could create a subfolder of that for each year, however you'd like to do it. But you have everything stored in a client folder and subfolders underneath it. Okay, I haven't seen any questions come through yet. I just wondered if anyone wanted to ask anything at this stage. Doesn't look like it. Okay. Obviously, every client, every user logs into the system with a username and password. And you see down at the bottom right-hand corner here, it tells you who's logged in. Okay, and you can set up many users, as many as you want, actually. The licensing for the software is either a 2, 5, 10, 20, or whatever users. And when we license it like a 5-user system, that allows 5 people to be logged into the system at any one time. So the system is installed on the server. 20 workstations can be set up, but on a 5-user license, only 5 people will be able to log in at a time. When number 6 tries to log in, it's going to say too many people are logged in, and you can shout across the room there, please log out someone so I can get in, and you can get logged in. So it's just a way to make the system more affordable. Because we realize that costs are a major factor. Obviously, a development of a product like this costs a lot of money, and it costs a lot of time. And we want to get this system out to as many people as possible, and we don't want the cost to be such a major limitation. Okay, we know our competitors' products are much more expensive than ours. That doesn't mean that ours isn't as good as theirs. In fact, well, obviously, I believe that our product is as good as any of those others out there. We're not limited by the technology. We can do anything that we want with the software that we use. And as I say, we like to respond to the needs of our clients. Okay, we've got a question here. It says, okay, if we already have folders in Microsoft, do we need to move those into the client folder? Yes, you do. Because the folder that is created by this system is purely dependent on the name of the client. Okay, so for example, here we've got our company, Pty Limited. The folder that's created is also our company, Pty Limited, okay, without the funny brackets, because Windows doesn't like those sort of things, so we just eliminate those type of things. And your naming of folders could be different. So yeah, there'd be a once-off moving clients across type of thing, but it would be worth it, because once it's in the system, it's a case of select the client, click on this quick icon, and you're in that folder, and everything's kept together. And then obviously you back up all that information. You know, it's in so many offices, the information is spread out over so many different machines that you could never get a handle on that information. Andre wants to know if you can send emails using Gmail. I'm sure you can, because when you set up the internal emailer, okay, that's under this little section here, you just specify what your email server ports and addresses are and passwords, and you should be able to send that through Gmail. If you have any hassle with that, you just get hold of me, and we'll have a look at it. I know there can be, there's some switches in your Gmail account that you have to tick to be able to have this program send through your Gmail account. But certainly it's all doable and fairly easily as well. Okay, while I'm on the screen, you can see this is an email footer. This footer goes out at the bottom of every email. So this is where you would normally have your company name and maybe your email disclaimer, if that's what you're using. Okay, and you only ever have to change it in one place. So very handy to have that there. Also at the bottom of every email, you can have it set up that a partner signature goes on the bottom of that. In which case you go to partners here, go to a particular partner, and that is what goes on the bottom of their email signature, or their letter signature, or their SMS signature. All right, yes, you can send SMSs through the system, and it's pretty cool. And when it comes to checking up the clients have made payments of provisional tax and things like that, SMSs are far more effective than emails. That's why we've got it here. And as you'll notice there's even an SMS inbox, so that the clients can reply to those SMSs. It won't come on your phone, it comes on here, because the number that the SMS gets sent to is through a service called bulk SMS, and the reply comes through that and then filters back into here. In fact, you just go to the inbox and you go get messages, and it will go and it will look for any messages. If it finds them, you can click File Messages, and it would then file it under the same log that the message went out on. Okay, someone asks about if we have AuditMate, do we buy this as an add-on? It's a completely different product to AuditMate. Obviously, AuditMate is your working papers, your financial statement preparation. This is a completely different product, but same developers that have developed it. That's me. Right. Okay, that's no more questions right there. Okay, let's get on then and just have a look at the tax side of things. All right, there's a little tax tab there, and you'll see that for each client, we're keeping track of submissions and assessments. Okay, let's go to this one. And we're keeping track of provisional tax. So that's what the tax side of things is primarily about. And obviously now we've also added the VAT as well. Okay, but on the submissions, so when a submission is done, okay, so you've prepared your tax calc for your client, you've completed the e-filing return, you will then capture that submission into the system. Okay, so you capture the main details, including the tax that's due. Okay, let's say on this client we hadn't paid, let's say that the tax came out to being a bit more than was initially anticipated, and there's a little bit of tax left to pay. Okay, we would then complete this, click on OK, and if we right-click on here, then we can send a tax letter to the client. Okay, so we click on that. The tax letter comes up. Now this letter you customize just the way you want it, with your letterhead in it, with your footer in it, or if your letterhead is a whole page thing, you can also have a whole page image in there. Then the text inside it, fully customizable. Okay, you make it say what you want it to say. If I then click print, it's going to say send it by email. I'll say yes. It will create an email for me, again with some standard text, which you can decide exactly what you want it to be. And it's now attached a PDF of that letter that you just saw previewed on the screen. Hit the send button. That goes off through my Outlook, and it comes in here, and it's got a little tick now that the letter's been sent. Okay, pretty useful. If we go to the tax tab up here, and we click on this submit, we can see a list of all the submissions. Okay, and these will just go in date order. So from a partner perspective, you can look at this list and see, well, how many tax returns have gone in the last week. And again, you can print that list, or you can send to that list, get it in some sort of hard copy form or Excel spreadsheet or whatever. That can be filtered by partner as well. And then you can look at this tab and see, well, which submissions have gone in and not yet been assessed. Okay, and there's a way then to follow that up and to manage the tax submission side of things. Okay, when we get the assessment, we would just come over to the client, open up the assessment, copy across. If we click this button, it will copy across what we had as a submission. Or if it's been assessed differently, you would then fill those details in. And down at the bottom here, you can link. You can link to the documents. Okay, so I don't have any in this because it's just demo data, but this would be where I would link to my IT34. So on the e-filing system, we would print the IT34 into this client's folder in Tax 2015, and it would be sitting here, and I would then just link to it. All right, and that would then come up as a document that's been linked in. Same with the submission. We would print the submission to a PDF, save it in that folder, link it in here. Right, so we're dealing with the assessments, come back. If we're not happy with it, we can put down what the status is. So we might want to do an ADR objection appeal, or when that's finished, we'd have it settled up. Also the payment status. If we tick it off here, then we'll say that will be when it's been paid. Okay, we won't pay it yet. Okay, we just go here, and then we're going to send a letter to the client. Okay, so we send them the tax letter, and it pulls up the letter for the assessment. Okay, now we have a standard one, but you can change it to be whatever you like. Okay, send it. It's going to create the email. There it is with the attachment. Okay, pretty cool, pretty useful. Right, we want to monitor these things. Okay, I already showed you on the submission one, there's all the submissions, and then submissions that haven't been assessed. It doesn't happen too often these days, does it? They come back immediately. And then we've got assessments that have not been paid yet on this tab. Assessments under objection, refunds not yet received, all assessments, and then again, submissions not assessed. So you can monitor it all on this screen. We call this a management panel, but here you can see everything, and it's in red because it should have been paid. It hasn't been paid. When it is paid, you can just double click, go in and tick it as paid, or you can just click this button and it will tick it as paid. You saw it disappeared. That's because it's not it's no longer a not paid item. Okay, if I go to all the assessments, there it is with the tick showing that it's been paid. Okay, so that's how we monitor the assessments and the submissions and assessments. Again, as I said, you can if you want to send an SMS now related to this assessment because it hasn't been paid, you can right click on it, send SMS. Okay, we don't have a telephone number set up for this client. So let's go in here, set up the telephone number, a cell phone number that is. Okay. Let's try again. Right click, send SMS. There we go. What number will pop up? You can select from a set of predefined ones, which you can add to. Okay, there's no limitation on how many letters you can put, how many SMSs you can put. So this one, for whatever, this is just a submission notice saying we submitted your return. We might create one for an assessment as well. Okay. Okay, now the provisional tax. It all works in a similar way. Here's our provisional tax at the bottom of the list. Now, what we're going to be dealing with, obviously, coming up now is the 2017 first provisional payments. Here I've just got a couple entered from the previous year, just demo data again. And if I just look at this second one from 2016, you'll see that there's a column for SARS and a column for the taxpayer stuff. Okay, the SARS that comes through from picking up the last assessment in the system. So if this was the first year that you were going to be going on to Clientmate, it would be ideal if you did capture just the last assessed data. All right, now if that was a 2014, it would automatically calculate the percentage increase. Okay, depending on the dates that you're entering it, etc., etc. Okay, if we accept SARS figure, those numbers will come through, the calculation happens, and when we click on the OK button, it actually produces a copy of the IRP6 form. So if I click there, you're going to see now, let's move this up so we can make it a little bit bigger. Okay, there's our IRP6 form. Now this does not get e-filed. Okay, I need to make that quite clear. We are not going down the path of e-filing from Clientmate into SARS system. I have looked into it. I got the documentation. I know that the other guys who do it, but I just think it's got far too many problems. The way that SARS wants us to submit data is like through a backdoor system. It's through a different system that then when they get the data, they then put that into e-filing. Really, the front door through the e-filing system is the way to do it. It's the best way to do it. Try and do it by the back door. I've heard some horror stories they think that the return's been submitted. 3 days later, they found out it didn't get submitted. The system on theirs shows it was, but SARS don't have it on theirs. How do you sort out that mess? Okay, that's wasted time. I don't think that I think it's a risky way of doing things. So I would prefer that we just work through the front door in the e-filing system. So we'll produce the forms. Now this form can be sent to your client. Okay, they can then approve it before you submit it. And then it's just a case of literally copy and paste. On the e-filing, it's already pre-populated anyway. So then you've just got to confirm those numbers per this form. But with this form, you can use this in your own office, that it gets approved before it then goes to the e-filing. And then the e-filing is just a simple process. We do the same thing with the VAT return. We'll do the same thing with the PAYE returns. Okay, I just have another question here. Any chance of expanding the system to include monitoring of due dates for verification or audits on assessments? Definitely. Yeah, in fact, on the drop-down box, I need to actually just put in an option here that it's selected for audit, or possibly just have another box, audit status, and then we'll be able to monitor that as well. So yeah, thank you for that question. That is definitely on the cards. All right, so that's, as I showed you, the provisional tax generates at IRP6. Now, over time, we've been through many different processes for generating the provisional tax returns. And this year I've actually come up with a slightly different one, which I think is going to be better from a management perspective. Under the tax tab, we've created this button here, provisional tax status. And if we click on that, what we'll get is a list of all the provisional taxpayers. Okay, so that's all the taxpayers from this list which have got provisional tax ticked. So if you go into that one and you go to the tax tab, see that provisional tax is ticked. Okay, if that's ticked, then they're going to be on that list. If that's not ticked, then they're not going to be on that list, right? Okay, so all the provisional taxpayers will come up on here. We will select which year end we're dealing with, and which tax year we're dealing with, and which partners we're dealing with. Right? For purposes of this, we'll just have all because I've only got a little bit of data in here. Then under these columns, first, second, and third, those are the first, second, and third provisional payments. And these icons give us the status of those various payments. So we'll see for 2017 first payment, we haven't done any processing at this stage. So everything's just showing it's a required item. So in a sense, Michael, this answers your question in terms of monitoring of dates and things. Okay, but we're monitoring the status of the provisional tax return. Now, if I want to add that provisional tax return, okay, so I want to work on this client now. If I double click on that, it's going to come up with that provisional tax screen that I showed you earlier. It's pre-populated with the last assessed amounts. And if we click on Accept SARS, all those calculations are done. Okay, if we don't want to accept SARS, then we can go to this other side and we can fill in what we think the provisional tax should be, and the calculations are all done for you. Okay, including the medical credits. Just can select from a drop-down list, and those medical credits will also find their way in there. Okay, so we accept SARS or we do the taxpayer estimate, whichever one. Let's just do this one for now. Okay, we can deal with the fees associated with the returns as well. Now you set your own fee. Okay, this Not sure whose fee this is because it's not mine. I don't do any provisional tax returns except my own. But those fees are set under this tab here. Okay, so different categories. But what it does is it allows the system to automatically generate an invoice with the you can change this if you don't want to, but this is the way we did it. And quite a lot of our clients have actually adopted this. And it's quite a neat way of doing it. Okay, so we click on OK. And no, let's not do that yet because this date is wrong here. So what's the due date? Around about, say, the 28th of August. And okay, we can click on OK. Now, what happens is, if you notice, that little icon changed. Okay, if I hover over the icon, it tells me what that icon means, right? So the yellow one means it's required. If I hover over this one, it says it's in process. Okay, so it's not been submitted to the client, approved, e-filed, and paid yet. But as we go through, you'll see what happens. Okay, so, sorry. Okay, so this one has been, we've completed on our side, and we want to send that to the client. So I can right-click on it, choose Send Email. Okay, it's going to generate the letter, which says we advise we've completed the return. This is what's due. You'll see there's our little invoice at the bottom if you want to use it like this, or you can put it onto the next page, or you can just not have it on at all. No problem. It's up to you. Send it. It's just created an email there with that letter attached. Okay, if I double click there, you can see that's the letter. All right. Obviously, your letterhead image, etc. Can't stress this enough. All right. And click on Send. That gets sent to the client. Okay, you might build into that letter that you want the client to approve it. You might build in that you want them to pay it. I don't know. Everyone does it a different way. But certainly we need to be able to now keep track of the fact that the return has been e-filed and that it's been paid. So if I double click on this little pencil again, it's going to open up and I need to put in the date. Okay, so that it was e-filed. So, or the e-filing reference. So whatever that reference number happens to be. Okay. Click on OK. Okay, so that's still showing as in process. Sorry, because I didn't tick this little box, e-filed. Right. Okay, now it's changed to a different thing. It says it's been submitted. Okay, so we had required, then we have in process, then we have submitted, and finally, when it's paid, we will have a receipt date. All right. And we can fill in a receipt number if we want to. We click on OK, and now it's going to have a full green tick on it. That's been paid. Okay, so here's quite a cool panel for monitoring the whole process and the whole progress of these things. Okay, obviously all these are yellow ones. Now there is a way that we can make this happen a bit quicker. Okay, usually go into each one and do it, but we have our last year's way of doing it. We have this Prov Tax button where we have completed returns on this side, which also shows whether it's been paid, whether the letter's been sent to the client, whether it's been e-filed. So again, it can be managed from this screen as well. It's all the same data, just a different representation of the data. Okay, and we also have a tab here which is the outstanding returns. Now, it's outstanding in the sense that the returns haven't been created yet. Okay, now there's a button here to create the required returns. So for February 2017 first period, click on create the returns, and system will run through and create those provisional returns. Okay. By creating the returns, they now appear next to a client in that box. Okay, it's all red because it hasn't got any data in it. Some action needs to be taken. Okay, so it shows in red because we need to do some action. Okay, on this one we've already completed that return, so there's nothing. For these ones, there's action required. Okay, let's go back to this report. So these ones are outstanding in that we need to do something with them. So we can double click on it. We get to the screen. What do we need to do? Put in a taxpayer estimate or a SARS one. Do that, calculate it. Okay. It moves from the outstanding list to the completed. Okay. And that we've completed it in this system. Okay. You can still see from here that we haven't sent a letter to the client yet. It hasn't been e-filed. It hasn't been paid. Okay. So you can manage it from here, or we can go to this status screen, and you'll see now these have all changed to the little pencil in that they're in process. Okay, so there's two different ways that you can use the system to manage the provisional tax run. Okay, from this screen, I can print it. I can do it by here there's two options. Either a preview, which is what we did before, you see it on the screen, or you can hit print and it will just print it and send it. It's gone. All right, and you can send the SMSs from here as well. So that's the way that we now can work with the provisional tax. Let's just have a look at the questions. Okay, Emmanuel asks, how do we tailor the reports to suit Namibia? Well, I'm not exactly sure which reports we're dealing with. If you're talking about the IRP6 forms, you just send me some examples and I'll fit them in here. If we're talking about the letters, okay, the letters that go to a client are all defined under company letters. And they're 4 different categories. Let's deal with the tax letters, because we were looking at, these will be the assessment letters, the sub ones are the submission letters, and the ones that start with IRP6 are the IRP6 letters. Now, if we want to look at IRP6, let's do it to pay individual. Okay, this one. If I double click on it, here's the email part. This is what will be put into the email, and you can edit that as you see fit. If I click on letter, here's the letter part. All right, you can change that exactly as you want it to be. We have these things called merge fields. So, for example, in this first line, we've got for the period, and we've got this PT dot period. Okay, that is one of these merge fields. And these merge fields can be used in all the letters and emails. And obviously the PT ones are related to provisional tax. The ASS ones are related to the assessments. And there'll be some submission ones down here, VAT ones. Okay. So that data then, that token gets replaced by the relevant data. So it will say which period it is, what total is payable. All right. And then also in the letter setup, here is where you set up your letterhead images. Okay, so each letter can be set up or can be tailored to your requirements on here. Okay, most other reports you just use a send to Excel, and then you can do with it whatever you like, or send to Word, and you can do with it whatever you like in Word as well. Okay, a question about third provisional returns. Yes, third provisional returns as well. If we look Let's go back to this tax tab and the status grid. If we go back, say, to the 2016, we can look and see, okay, I didn't do a third provisional for this person. Okay, there's a third provisional. We'd probably would be putting our own estimate in here. Okay, so we might put in, in the wrong block, what we anticipate the actual to be, and then we would say okay, and that's then going to create the third form. Okay. All right. Another question here. If I choose to do the invoicing through Clientmate, does it integrate into an accounting system or pastel? No, it doesn't. You just will get a listing of those invoices. So not exactly sure where we do that. I think under here we go. So we look at this fee list. Okay, so it'll be whatever tax period we're dealing with. I see I need to be able to put 2017 in there, but I can't yet. Okay, that's something I need to fix. But you'll get an invoice listing this way. And I see I need to make a change there too. But that would be your invoice listing, which you then capture into your accounting system. Okay, question, is this cloud-based? No, it's not. It's desktop-based or server-based. But if you want it in the cloud, you can install it in the cloud. So I have several of these cloud servers, but you basically rent one. Cheapest ones are kind of about 500-600 Rand a month, and you install this on that server in the cloud, and then your staff access it using remote desktop or some other service like that. There's one that we know of called TS Plus, which can give you more remote access connections than your normal Windows one, where you pay for every extra connection. So hosting in the cloud, it's an option. Obviously, then you can make it available to remote devices more easily. Okay, you can make something in your own office network available on remote devices too, but it's a little bit more tricky to deal with the security issues than if you just do it in the cloud with remote desktop. So if you wanting to get that in the cloud, just give me a call, and I can talk you through what sort of options are available to you. All right. Just hold on a second. Just a question of whether we're thinking of extending this into a fully fledged sort of tax calculation system for individuals, where you put in the IP6 data and travel allowances and all that sort of thing. We don't have plans for that at this stage. When I was in practice, and where this was developed too, is we just ran big spreadsheets to do that, quite sophisticated spreadsheets. And that's maybe something that we might do, and then be able to, for example, when we add in a new submission here, we'll have a button that says grab the data from that spreadsheet, and then we'll grab that data and fill in these fields automatically. That's something that's quite doable and is a possibility. Again, it depends how many people want that. I haven't had many requests for that, but if we got 10, 15 requests for that, then we'd certainly look at it. Sunitha says she missed the fee for the package. Okay, if you're interested in what these things cost, let's just grab our website here. Let's all right. If we look here, if we go to Clientmate, okay, the system's split into 3 modules. There's the Clientmate database, then there's the tax that goes on that, and there's time that goes on that. And basically those 3 modules are all the same price. So here are 2-user Clientmate database, 1,650 Rand for the year. If you add tax to it, it's going to be another 1,650. If you add time to it, it'll be another 1,650. We can look here under Clientmate Tax. You see there we go, 3,300. Then if you add time, it's another 1,650. So that's how the prices work. And I can assure you these prices are so much more reasonable than our competitors. I don't think any of our competitors do the VAT returns, which is what we're going to look at next. All right, and the VAT returns is included in the Clientmate Tax. Okay, we do have plans for this next month to add company secretarial into the system. That will be an additional module, and I think it's going to be a bit more than the 1,650 kind of ballpark, but we're going to add company secretarial into the system as well. Nico says, is this mainly to manage tax clients? Well, the tax module is, but the normal info part you can use to manage anything. Literally, I mean, we use this part, the Clientmate part, in our own business, and we use it to send out all those emails that went out telling you about this webinar. We sent out of Clientmate that we're using for our own business. If you're an estate agent, you might want to use this. Basically, any business could make use of the Clientmate database part. The tax obviously is tailored for accounting practices that are managing clients' tax affairs. All right, let's look at the VAT. Right. So on the VAT side of things, let's click on this tab. I showed you earlier that you can flag a client to be a VAT client. Okay, so under the client setup, you go to the VAT tab and you tick that box. Then they will become a VAT client in the system. Okay, we should also fill in their VAT number and their return category. I haven't done that yet because I want to show you that we have this report for missing VAT numbers. Okay, so it's all those people that were ticked as a VAT client, but we don't have their VAT number. Okay, so we can get a printout of that, or we can go to the VAT status and we will see they're on the list, but they don't have a VAT number next to them, and they don't have a category. Okay, so we don't know when their returns are due. Okay, let's go to this client. Let's go and fix their data. Let's put in their number. And let's give them a return category of the odd months. All right. And then this data down here, or the rest of the data on this screen, is what goes on the face of that VAT 201. Okay, so we could fill in the details that go on the face of that VAT 201. Okay, we'll save that. Let's go to the status, under the VAT status. Now you can see here the yellow little icon, hover over it, it's required. Okay, so this our company, PDY, is an even months VAT client, and the other one is an odd months VAT client, and showing that those returns are due. Okay, and this report just shows the current month in this column, next month, and the previous 2 months. If I look at this client, I've got some detail, some VAT returns in here already, so we've got a history. What we'll do as well is for that is at the SD14, we need to reconcile the VAT. We'll I'm going to add a little button, just to be a right click, and we'll create a spreadsheet. So we'll do a send to, and we'll create an Excel spreadsheet with all those columns of the fields that were filled in on the VAT return, adding them all up so that you can easily do that is SD14. Okay, that's just an additional feature that's going to come. Right, so I've done a few VAT returns here, and if I click on this, you'll see this was a copy of the VAT return. Let's just make it a little bit wider so we can see. Obviously, it's not e-filed, okay? See, it's got my logo on it, just to show that it was generated from our system. But that is what your VAT return is going to look like. Okay, and if you've got the diesel, then you'll get the diesel VAT return here. Okay, so how do we actually work this system? Will you do it with the status? Okay, so similar to the Prov tax, use the status, because here we can see now what's required and the process as we go along. So let's go here. This is required. Double click on it, and it's going to open up the return that we need to complete. Okay, so 2016 period 7. All this data comes through from the client profile. You see there, can only be changed in the client profile. Okay, so that's that data that we set up there. We've run it this way so that within an office, various partners might have different practitioner numbers. So we've made it so that you can fill those things in. And this data will come through from the client profile if it's in there. Otherwise, you can type it in here. At the bottom, we've got a status we can put in optionally, who the manager was on the job, who checked it, who reviewed it, etc. Okay, so this one will need to be paid by August the 25th or the 31st. Hasn't been submitted yet. Right? Let's go to output tax, and we just complete it. These are all the fields that are on the return. Okay? And as we complete, the numbers are going to go across. The gray boxes, we don't complete. They're automatically calculated for us. Okay, if we've got the accommodation, we would fill that in, etc. Go to the input tax, fill in some numbers. And you see the totals are changing as we go along, totals that are payable. All right. If we had the diesel, we would fill that in, and we've got a summary at the end. Okay, if we click OK, then this is going to be the documents created, the PDF document. Okay, if we want to look at the PDF document, sorry, I completed the wrong month. Okay, I was supposed to be doing the June one. I clicked the July, so let's go back and change that. Let's go back and change this date. That was also wrong. Okay, that's better. Okay, it's quite useful having the columns like that. And obviously, depending on the category, if you were in a monthly one, it's going to show it every month there. Okay, double click, and I click on View PDF Form, and I can have a look at the actual PDF document that was created. This, again, can be sent to your client, and they can even fill it in. They can fill in an approval date, etc. Okay, and they could even sign it there. Whatever you want them to do. We added a couple of extra fields there. Okay. And if I close this, sorry. Sorry, I need to... I've got a pop-up message on the other window. Just hold on a second. I'm running 3 monitors here, and these messages come up elsewhere. So do you want to save changes? Yes. All right, if I go back in there, you'll see my changes were saved, okay, because those were form fields that we created. So anyone with Adobe Acrobat or the PDF reader, they should be able to fill those in, save it, and even send it back to you. All right, so we're at the point where we have created, sorry, I've just recreated the form then. we've created that form. And sorry, gather my thoughts. Okay, I thought I'd put the option to be able to send form from here, but I haven't. Okay, so that's something I'll just fix. But you can go to that particular client that we're dealing with, okay, which was this one. You see I haven't put a submitted date, so it's red. Okay, but if we want to send this to the client, we right-click, send the VAT letter, attach the return, so that comes under the forms. And we just find which period 6, 2016-06. And okay, where's my, there we go. There's the email. It's got the form attached to it. It's got whatever wording I set up in that letters and emails option, also including those merge fields, which tells them how much is due and when it's due by, etc. Okay, and you hit send, and that's going to go off to your client. Not sure what that error message is about. We'll work it out. Okay, so that's gone off to the client, comes back, and it's time to submit it. Okay, so we'll go double click on it. Okay, either from here or from the status. We'll go and fill in the submitted date. Okay, so we submitted it then. Click OK. Now the form's changed to submitted status. And when we actually have paid it, or when the client confirms they've paid it, we would tick it paid, and now it would be on the paid status. Okay, so this status grid or management panel, very similar to the provisional tax one. In fact, I created this VAT first and then decided, hey, this would be quite useful, and I put it, created the provisional tax one. Okay, so it's just the way the software gets developed and the way that it evolves. Okay, sorry, I just need to find my questions again. Okay. Right, let's just have a look. Thanks, Carl. He says, hi, it's a really cool system. I agree. I think it's pretty cool too. And basically, the more response we get from you guys out there who are using it, the cooler it will become. Really, there's just no limitation on us as developers, and there's no limitation on how the data can be presented and represented, and the way that we can create a system that works for you guys. All right, I'm not in practice anymore, but we have hundreds and hundreds of clients who are. And the more they feed back to us, the better the systems will align with the way people operate things. So I think I've covered the new features. Just want to check a couple of other things that you just might not know. But so often I hear practitioners will get an SMS from SARS and it's got a VAT number or part of a VAT number, part of a tax number in it. And they don't know, what client is this for? This system will help you with that. Okay. If I go to the Clients tab, this, I can look up various things. I can look up telephone numbers, email addresses, but even more than that, under tax, I can look up tax numbers, VAT numbers, PAYE numbers. Okay, let's go to that tax numbers lookup. And it will give me a list of the tax numbers, all the tax numbers. Okay, that's not very helpful. But it says here, start typing a tax number to begin searching. So, and the way that it searches, it doesn't just search from the beginning, right? Because when you get that SMS, it's got like the last 4 digits. Okay, so let's look at this one. The last 4 digits is 4634. I'll start typing 4634, and there it is. Okay. Next one, 7457. 74. Okay, straight there. I don't have a big database here, but it filters it, and it basically looks, whatever I type in, it looks to see if that's contained in the tax number. Okay, so that's a tax number or the VAT number. Same story. Might just be that last number, 46, and there we go. How useful is that? Okay, same with PAYE. You can do exactly the same thing. If we need to do it with any other numbers, we will do. Okay, under the VAT, we've got the option there as well. It's the same one. Okay, that button and that button, they're basically the same thing. Under VAT, we can take lists of VAT clients. We can do letters to VAT clients. Under tax, we can do lists of various types of clients. Clients can be categorized into different things: provisional, non-provisional, small business corporation. Okay, all the letters can be sent out to those categories of clients. Yeah, there's so many things that you can do here. There's so many reports. CIPC, okay, with the annual returns. I haven't even covered that. But here we've got, here's a report of any missing incorporation numbers or missing incorporation dates. We can have a list of those companies, okay, and it will be in the incorporation month, okay. We can send letters to those clients. At this stage, we're not logging the annual return submitted, but that's definitely on the cards in exactly the same way as we're logging the VAT and the provisional tax, etc. And with the management grid, just the same thing. That's all going to be added into the system in the very near future. So it's something that we're really wanting to promote. You know, obviously our flagship product is Clientmate, but we want to expand that because we believe that we can create really useful software for you guys. Someone asked about birthday lists. Yeah, there's birthday lists even in here. Look, birthday lists and letters. You could send out a whole lot of letters to everyone with a birthday in whatever month. All right, and that would actually come up with a list. There you go. My birthday's in February. So yeah, it's kind of the possibilities are kind of endless. If you want a contact list, okay, we've got this address book. You can print an address book, and you can actually print it physically, and the receptionist can have it to look through. Okay, that's why that list is there, because that's what somebody wanted. Okay, so it's much better that the receptionist has this program open on her desk and she just clicks on the client, looks at the information and can see, oh, there's their address. Okay, all these items on this screen, by the way, look, if you notice that, just expand and contract as you need to. If I don't need the notes field, there's my addresses. You know, if you need to copy and paste, you can just block copy to the clipboard and paste it into your word processor. Whatever. Okay, once the data's there, it can be used in so many different ways. All right. Okay, let's just have a look. We've got a few more questions here. Great product. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Yeah, look, the product wouldn't get greater if you weren't asking for things. Okay, some guys would like to be able to print like a batch run of all the provisional returns. We can look at that. Yeah, it's yeah, certainly we can look at that. Okay, Neil says that birthday lists work well for his clients. He obviously uses that. Okay, we have a couple of documents that help keeping client information up to date. Okay, we've got these little buttons over here. If we hover over them, you'll see we've got a client update form. Okay, so with this one, if I click on that document, it creates this form, which shows the client details that we have on file, and then on the right-hand side for the client to complete the new documents. The idea with this was when a client is coming to meet you at your office, that you print this out and you put this in front of them when they're with you, and then they can update their details, sign it and date it. This can go back to the receptionist, and then she can come into the system and update those details. Okay. Alternatively, as you saw there, you can do this. You can print it, and then you can actually email that form to your client. All right. With a covering letter, you just choose which covering letter you want to do. Update form here, saying whatever. Okay. You can actually. This is the letter that will go to the client. You can make changes at this point here and save it, and then that will be the next standard letter that's called update form. All right. But then that you can email that to your client. There's another option, is this form, slightly different in that this one shows all their details and then the contact numbers. I think this one will be more useful when we start getting inquiries under this POPI Act. People say, well, what data do you hold on me? And then we can use this form and send that to them. Or else we have one where the system will create an Excel spreadsheet. All right. So just to show you, that spreadsheet was created in the background, but in fact, let's just close this. I created this form for this client. All right. And so this is the data that came out of this system. Now you can email this to your client. They can come in here and change this information. Let's go with something like, we even have little drop downs. Okay, so their status there, whatever it happens to be. And they can email this form back to you with updated. And you can actually click on this button and import the data from that Excel form into the system. Okay, also quite a cool little thing. It's actually, there's so many things in here. I don't remember what they all are. Because it's like, someone's asked for this, we put it in for them. Okay, let's see. There's quite a lot of questions here. Okay, question here is, where can I see total fee income for the tax clients? It doesn't really run that because it's only running the invoice for the provisional tax. So under that report, we went there and we looked at the fee list. Okay, in whichever tax period, and then we can get that fee list out of there. Okay, which I need to fix that list, but that's not too much. Sanitha says, please advise second email for SARS correspondence. I'm really not too sure what you're talking about there. Sorry. Maybe it's related to earlier question. We have an email address that we use for SARS in the VAT 201. Will it be able to access this email address? Yes. When you send emails, okay, that's under the setup here. you can set it up here to be that from that particular address. No problem with that at all. Alternatively, if you're using the Outlook option, it will create the email in Outlook, and then you can choose in Outlook that you're sending it from whichever address you're using. Okay, so definitely that can be, you can cater for that. Karen, just on your question there, yes, that 2017 list's not on there. You all need, all basically need to update. Now, the version that I'm just working on here right now is the latest version that is not even on the website yet, because when I was preparing for this today, there were a couple of bugs that I found as I was doing it. So I fixed them as I went along. And this version will get up probably tonight. And tomorrow you'll be able to update your systems, and then you'll have the latest version. And then, Karen, that fix will be in the latest version, and you'll be able to get that listing that you need. Yeah, on the support side, I mean, if we find bugs, as soon as they get reported to us, that fix is done within hours. Yeah, if it's a really important fix, literally it's done within hours. So yeah. Yeah, so I think that's it. We've hit the 3:30. I will hang around and answer a few more questions if there are any more. But just to close it off, say thank you so much for all of you that attended today. We'll post a link with the recording. You'll get an email with that, and we'll make that recording available from a link on our website, so that you can refer back to this. And yeah, just pop us an email if you want more information, or if you've got suggestions. From all the questions we've got here, I'll be picking up and making a list of suggestions. And really appreciate you guys all attending and taking the time out. And we hope that we're going to, for those of you that aren't current Clientmate users, we hope we'll be able to help you in the future and help make your offices more efficient and do things better. Thanks very much.